First of all, GenialCloud is an application that you can deploy the way you want. So it can be on the cloud or can be on your prem. There is nothing that, so Avantune is not forcing you to pick up a deployment model. Clearly, if you want it on the cloud, can be private cloud, so it's all managed by us. You don't have any headache about managing the application, backup, blah, 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 all that stuff. And everything is accessible online. If you want it on the cloud, clearly the only things that you need to do is just log in with your. When you log in, this is so sorry for the language, but
Oh, perfectly fine. I can
well,
understand you
we
well.
support multi-language. You can change the language just on the fly as I did right now.
Sure.
And and this is all the modules that you have. So in this case, I have ProJ, I have the analytics, I have faxes, and just to access a product. So as you can see, I'm running on a browser. We support Chrome, we support Safari, we support Edge, any browser you like. And clearly, all of this I'm showing to you is HTML5 reusable or compatible and will run on your phone or your iPad or whatever tablet you like
Great.
to have. So just to access, let's start with ProJ, which is our ERP and CRM platform. So I'm running right now on the cloud, and everything you will see will be the performance. So we have a lot of features which I will not go about the user interface and customizability of the user interface. So you can even decide the way that you want to show your menu as a user setting, the way that you want to show the color, all the product is on runtime. And I can decide if I want to have a push menu, like in this case. This will really helpful in case, I'm using from an pad or a phone, a push menu will be really helpful. But, if I'm running like I'm more familiar with Microsoft Office, I can save it as a ribbon, just go back and click again, and then you will see that the layout of the product will change on the fly, but it's exactly the same product. So what the product can do more. So, and there are a lot of settings that you can customize. You can do a lot of things like, for example, having your personal dashboard when you log in. You can set a dashboard and, you will see a few graph right now loading. You can customize entirely the graph that you will see, like you want to see, for example, your revenue, your sales inventory, or whatever you want to see when you log in. It's something that you can decide. For example, you want to see purchases. I don't know. I'm picking up some stupid data right now, okay? But this is oh, wow, this is too much data. Probably we want to read the top 10. So but this is a fully customizable dashboard. It's like when you log in, you have your information. Something that you see, it's also what we define here. We can have alert and reminder that you can define yourself. So for example, there is an engine where you can go with a query by design. And for example, you want to see when you are under a certain level of stock for a certain product, and then the system will give you an alert and raise it in your own page. Clearly, you have all the tools to analyze your stocks and so on
Nice.
and so forth. There are a lot of things also in the product. I'm just, again, going with an overview. For example, everything
Yep.
that you will see, like, I don't know, I'm going, for example, I don't know, going business management and check my stock inventory. I don't know, I'm just doing something, okay? So if I go and I go to check for an item situation, so I just want to show some basic feature that we have. So I will not mention again all the feature that we have. Like for example, I'll pick up for this product and I will have certain data. This is basic, okay? I have only one line that I have 499 in stock. But everywhere you will see, we have features where you can customize all your view. You can customize the column, apply filters, and decide what you want to see in this view. But moreover important, I know that you say that you hate the fact that customers use Excel, but we know that they love Excel. So everything that they see on the screen, they can just click on a button and will be exported on a Excel-like spreadsheet. Why I'm saying Excel-like? This is really Excel spreadsheet. So you can download to your Excel. But the beauty of this is that it will not require any license. So you don't need an Excel license to run this on
Mm.
your organization. So I mean, that was basic, right? What I did is sport.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have all the features. You can add other stuff, and then you can download if you want it to your Excel traditional tools. So, and this is entirely everywhere you will see our product. So everything that you are seeing, you can export and re-import, and you have a lot of things. Let's discuss a little bit an overview of the modules, and then we go maybe in depth into something if you are more interested in something specific, because as I said, this will take a lot of time. So
Yeah.
the way that we have structured our ProJ ERP CRM is, it's by main modules over here and sub modules in this case, because we decided to pick up this graphic layout. If you remember, in the other case was the push menu, or you can have other different type of form of menu. So the module that we have is clearly the master files. So this is a module where we define all your basic information set of data, like for example, customers. So you can access customer in many ways. So if, for example, I select the list, and right now the system will give me a list of all my entire database of customer. It's a little slow, I know, in this case, because we just updated the version. I'm online. I'm using a cloud version, so I'm not running in the same location where the server is based. Sorry for a lot of Italian data, but I don't know the demo database. My colleague know better than me the other database, so I'm more comfortable with this database. But you clearly this is just data, so you can
Sure.
have any kind of data. And as I show it to you, right, you want to export all this in Excel spreadsheet, click of a button, and it's out. But you can filter everywhere you want. So if you want, for example, filter for something that start like spacing, you just type there and will find the customer that you want. And just clicking, so you see that we use a lot of the hyperlink, the browser standard feature. So if I'm clicking here, I will be redirected to the form and the detail of that specific customer. So something that I want to show to you in the meantime that is very interesting is that it's not opening new browser window, as you can see. I'm still running on one window of the browser, which is very important for resources and for usability. So I'm not confused. But at the same time, I have a kind of a, how it's called, I don't remember, an audit log that where I have all the form that I have opened while I was working. So at any point in time, I can switch back and forth between the features without leaving behind anything I was working on. So for example, I'm working on this customer, but I need something on an item. I can just click here and say, hey, listen, I want to see the details of a specific item product, right? In this case, product number one. And then I can still go back and work on the customer.
Got you.
Okay. So uh, clearly there is a lot to say about all those fields and things, right? So
Yeah.
we have features very interesting as well where you can customize those for on the fly. So there is not a need for developer in this case. For example, assuming that there are a lot of field here, you may get scared with some field. You want to add some field, you enable the customization, and then you can start, for example, I want to move this field somewhere else, right?
Nice.
Yes. And again, this is a full ERP. Or, for example, you can even customize and go there and say, listen, I want a different alignment. I want a different color. I want it bold. I want mandatory, and you can do all of this on the fly. Then save your customization. And this will stay forever and will remain as soon as we deliver the new version. So you don't have to have the headache and the cost, clearly, of customization. Plus, we offer, just for you and for your information, a customization environment. So we have our own development framework. So in case that the customer have the ability or willing to do things by himself, he potentially can. Okay, so this is an item information. Clearly, there are a lot of field here as well. So you can manage with ProJ system product that are warehouse managed or services. So it's not mandatory. So if you uncheck, clearly I cannot now for this product because I already have entry for this product, but potentially you can have services that you don't want to track in your warehouse, right? And clearly we manage an unlimited number of warehouse. So you can define yourself how many warehouse you want. They can be physical. So as you can see, I move just either clicking. So I was on the item form. I want to go to see details of a warehouse. I just click on the hyperlink and the system load my warehouse form. So as I was saying, you have the ability to have physical or virtual warehouse. For example, you can manage a work in process. Work in process is typically a virtual warehouse because you want to control your phases, right? So if you want to control the phases of your production, you may have one or more than one working process where you move materials and not finished good from one virtual warehouse to the other so that you can have, for example, different costs at certain point of your production because clearly your unfinished product will have a different cost from raw material because you may have added some phase like I don't know some work some whatever you have in mind. Also, in why I was willing to go to this forum because we manage also location. So inside your warehouse, you can have different location and different bins. We have a tracking system for barcode scanning, RFID, all that system in case you want to track your location availability for your products. What else? Clearly, we have different unit measurement between sales and purchase and warehouse with conversion factor. So, for example, you can buy, in the case of the food, you can buy per kilo and store by number because you package the product and whatever. And I'm throwing stupid example. For example, we have
Oh,
customer
good.
we have customers that produce printed iron and they get by kilo, but then when they store, it's not just after the work, it's on meters. So it's not more like in by kilo.
Sure.
Uh, I don't know, there are a lot of things here, so we can go field by field, or I can respond to question if you have. And then I want to go to planning data, which is probably showing you the ability of our products even more. So you
Yeah.
can see we have replacement item. You can decide, for example, for an unit, what happens when this become an obsolete item. You want to replace with a new one. So the system will, since we have MRP, the system will automatically plan after a specific date on the new item and not the obsolete one. Also, you can have a routing cycle, meaning phase of work, so that you can do cost. Well, there are a lot of things here. Uh, what is important is that I will show you the planning data because give you a sense of how much powerful is our MRP MPS planning. So those are all the planning data that we manage into our system. As you can see, well, first of all, we have what it's very important that is the supply type for this product. In this case, I have defined that my product, number one, this is just a demo product, which I call finished product, is a production product. So it's something that I will produce. Because why? This is important because when you're running and processing your MRP, then the system will propose you exactly the right order that you want. Well, clearly, another item which is very important in this case, and we're just on the first menu, it's the bill of material, right? So you want to see the bill of material of this product. You just go in, call the product, and then you can define, clearly we have variants because, for example, this is very useful and used by our customer in electronics. Assuming that you have a printed board, sometimes you can use a capacitor that is from a certain brand, or some other time you can use a same capacitor with the same hum, but from another brand, right? So your
Sure.
bill of material is the same, but you need to have variants. So you may have more than different component, and in this case, you can manage an unlimited number of variants where you can produce your finished product in this case. So when it's done, you just load, and this is your bill of materials. So this is a very simple one which I built for demo case. And as you can see, I have this finished product. It's created with two components. One, it's a purchase product. So this means that when I want to build this one, I need to purchase or have it in my stock clearly, right? So this component, but this is also a component with external work because we manage also external workers. So you may give a phase outside. Then, for example, you can send out raw material to your sub worker, and they send you the finished sub material that you use in your component, right? So, and also you can have a bill of material for your sub-component because in this case, if it's external work, I can click on and you see there is a different component that I need to provide to my sub-worker. So it's like I'm drilling down into my bill of materials. Clearly, we have a graphical representation of that. the term it's probably not perfect, but it's called the explosion, and you can drill down your bill of material in a more graphical way where you can see all the components
Huh,
by
nice.
hierarchy.
Yep.
Yeah, right. So other very important things that you can see in our bill of materials, just in general. So let me show you some of the planning data that we have in the bill of materials, and then we need to go back to the item. Sorry for the button, it's just in Italian because I had the language before in Italian, but it's full in English when you switch to English.
All good.
I know, I know. So, for example, okay, couple of very important things. Like, for example, in wood manufacturing, something that I think is very important is what we define output component. So the traditional bill of material will only have usually material that you consume when you produce something, right? Because you are saying, okay, to produce this item, I need this two sub item. But when you mark something as output component, it means that that specific item in your bill of materials will be not consumed, but added to your stock inventory because you can reuse it as another uh, raw material for more production. Let me make a very easy example. If you have a piece of wood like 1 meters large and 1 meters length,
equals 12 plates of so and so could be
yeah,
divided down into each meal. So yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, it makes because
Okay.
if you cut it because you need just half, then the other half will become usable for another production. So, but that item that you have as a half meter will exist only if you start the production of the other one, will not really exist in your warehouse until you have production of the other item. So the system will automatically add this to your inventory when the other one is produced or at that phase.
Got it.
So there are a few things here important to know, like what we call fixed consumption. For example, you have your screw and you have a pack of screw or you are producing a goods and you don't want to just count it by numbers like you say "Hey, just consume the entire pack, I don't give a right, or we have what is called we call backflash, which is very interesting because in case you don't want to manage the work in process warehouse, which is if you depends from the size of your organization, because to manage work in process warehouse, you need to do transfer list, right? So when you transfer material from a, yeah, you clearly this involved to have more people, right, in your organization.
Yep.
But with backflash, something that we give the ability to use is that when you close your production and you declare that your production is finished and you are going to load into your warehouse the finished product, we give you the ability to trace back the last warehouse that you have inventory, and then it will automatically make it for you without that you have to do it manually. So it will align all the work in process on a backflash mode. That's how we call it in this way.
Okay.
Okay, so this is a little bit of the planning. But going back on this, because this is very important, because those are all the data that we will consider in our MRP planning. So you can manage item by minimum stock, clearly, minimum lot, or you can define stock by days. If you don't have the ability to manage a quantity, you can manage in days. You can manage the minimum order quantity, as you said, the revision. Wow, and a lot of lead time. You can see there are a lot of parameters about lead time. It is huge. As a safety stock and safety margin, for example, in this case, we have a minimum stock of 40. We have a minimum lot of 10. So it means that when we are going to reorder, yes, the minimum stock is 4, but I will not order or produce 5, but I need to produce 10 because that's the lot that I have defined that I want to produce because it's economic. So we have the economic lot as well, but it can be just because you don't start the production for this item because it doesn't make sense to produce one.
Sure.
I'm just
Sure.
throwing.
Sure. So most of these are optional. So if you're not going to use them, you
Absolutely,
just leave them
absolutely.
blank.
Okay, very
Yep.
good question because what is mandatory in our products, it's only what is in red. So for example,
Got
when
it.
you define a product,
Ah,
it's important the code, the item, and then you need to have a sales tax, measure unit, and then if it's a warehouse, then you need to have a warehouse and warehouse unit. But all the planning data may be zero. You
Got
just need to define, in that case, your supply type. Is a production, is a purchase, or is it an external work?
Okay.
That's
Good.
it. That's it. Okay. What you would like to see? Because that's pretty huge. So something that I think it's interesting, usually it's a feature that we have in our planning. So everything that you see up here is the module. So let me first fly over the modules, and then we see what I was willing to show to you. So we were just on the master item. We have a lot of features here, like, price list, purchase price list, discount policy. So it's very flexible. Then we have all the business management module. This is usually sales, purchase, and warehouse. So you have all your sales capability. Everything that you see here, for example, if I go and open a sales order, it's configurable. So I know that I have I had configured before. Yeah, this one. So what is important is that in our products, you can define as many document type you want, and each product can have a different not product, and each document can have a different workflow. So what you're seeing here is, for example, I have defined this type of document, which is a sales order that will be transformed into a picking list, right? And you can have other type of document, like, for example, I can have whatever, any offer, for example. I can pick up a quote and, like, I don't know, whatever, I don't know, like this. And this may have a different, and this will have a different workflow. Why it's very important that, you may have different workflow. Okay, this may be pretty huge. So, because you may have different level of approval. So you see, look at this. These have a lot of possibility to be transformed into other product, that when it's transformed into that product can become that type of invoice. So clearly this gives you the ability and the flexibility to customize entirely the workflow of your business. So, and clearly when you are creating a document, you even here add a lot more possibility and parameters. For example, you can define how you want to move your allocation of the items when you create that type of order. What is, for example, the type of, if you want to allow to force closing a specific item when it's not fully delivered. So there are a lot of, but as you can see, it's very easy to customize. It's not that complexity that you may have seen in certain type of enterprise product, right? So
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I'm spending a little bit of time, but I think this is very important because all of this give you it's like I call it an old PBX switchboard in the past. It gives you the ability to change the behavior of the product without programming a single line of code, and you don't need to really be an expert, if not in manufacturing and sales process and warehouse, to understand what you are doing.
Yeah.
Okay. Other beautiful features, it's also the ability, for example, to define level of approval for each documents, who can approve what is the, clearly.
Nice.
Yeah. You have also level of approval that you can define by number, by Luca, do you remember where it is, the approval? Do I need to enable something? It's on quote. Yeah, here, manage.
You need to enable that flag there.
See, when I just checked, for example, that order was not under an approval management, right? So if I just click here and manage approval, I get a new menu here when I can define all the approval, first people that will approve this document. And I can define, for example, this specific user can approve up to this amount or up to this discount because I want to control what they do. A couple of things very important. Okay, so as I was saying, this is our business management. So you have all the sales modules that goes from pre-sales, order, list, picking list, shipping and delivering, sales invoice, purchase. We start from request for purchase, internal document. When a user want to purchase something and need to get internal approval, it goes to say contracts and orders and receiving and invoice from vendors, blah, blah. And then job orders, clearly we manage all the job order and cost of job orders, which is very, very important part of our product. And as I said, all the warehouse management and blah, blah, some other modules. So just to finish what we have up here. So we have a full flag general ledger modules that goes from basic general ledger to advanced reclassification and cost and collection, blah, and all those fancy features, which I'm not an expert of. So we need in case involve someone else. Plus, what is very strong in our product, it's also our cost accounting. So this is, a module that is in some way connected to general ledger, but it's stronger because you can start with budgeting. So first of all, the three key pillars. You want the ERP, CRM, you want the analytics and BI, you want the workflow and documents. Within that, then we have modules. So now that you have decided that you want the ERP CRM, which model of the ERP CRM want? Do you need the full CRM? Do you need the general ledger? Those are the modules. Okay. The same is applicable for faxes and for analysis. After that, and you have we have a product configurator where you can play, and then at the end it's only how many users, how many months. That's
Got it.
That's it.
Okay. Good to know.
Okay. So as I was saying, cost accounting is pretty strong because we have not just the budget, but also a product costing model, which is very important, especially for manufacturing companies, because it gives you the ability, especially nowadays, to simulate, for example, create a model of your product where you have, the cost of production, the cost of material, but you also can create simulation and costing analysis. Like, okay, what if my raw material next year will price increase by 20%? And this is something that you want to be able to do, right? Because it's very important in this case. We have a little modules. Well, it's not little, but we call human resource. But I want to clarify in this case as well that we don't do payroll. So it's not our capability.
Most systems don't. Yeah, there's just too many details.
Exactly. And there are companies that do that very, very well. We can interface with other companies. What we do in human resources is managing collateral tasks for people. For example, we have a function chart where you can define the organization chart, because this will be very important also in your workflow. So we need an organization chart, right? It will be also important in the way you share your data with BI. It's also important because we have a time tracking things here that let people, for example, track their time, especially in professional services. Plus, we have two vertical modules, one for travel management, like cost for travel management, and one for time, presence, and attendance, so that you can have, for example, people in your production plant to give you exactly the time that it worked on a specific job order for a certain time. Again, I'm flying very high, but that's it.
No, it's good.
Okay, last but not least is our production and planning. So what I was willing to show to you, because I've read the document you sent us about the food company, and I just briefly read the other one about the food company right now. Something that is very powerful in our product, and that's why I focus a little bit on all those planning data, is that we have three powerful engine into our ERP part of the product. And one is clearly the available to promise. I'm assume you are familiar with the available to promise.
Yes.
That's a really powerful engine, because the available to promise give you the ability to forecast how your product will be available in the future, so that you can respond to customer demand. So when you enter a sales order, our system, ATP, available to promise, means that clearly, if you are struggling with your bill of material, it's not managed. You are not able to manage the ATP. But also we have a line level item, single level check, progressive check. What this means? So remember when we discussed before the bill of material for the product, right? So we have itself, the product that we are selling, whatever, and then we have the components, right? So in the case of ATP, we can decide if we want to check the ATP of the specific product, for example, and then the system with MRP will plan all of the subsystem. Or if the product is not available, we can go to a single level check. This means that we will explode on the fly when you are entering an order. You will see right now. The system will give you a delivery plan. So at the time you are entering an order, it will check only the first level. So it will see, so do we have these two? Or when we will have these two available? Or, clearly, if you have a not too complicated bill of material, it's fine. But if you have 10 level deep bill of materials, you can even go to progressive check. It will go down up to the latest level in your bill of material and will give you exact date and planning for all the items to be replanned with an MRP on the fly. So let's, for example, let's go, for example, now on a just change. That's it. You have reconfigured your product. So what we can do now, let me show you. Okay, I have many things open. Let me close some. Okay, so for example, if we go to check this ATP data of this product, yeah, I changed. So I need to replan now because I've changed. He is right. So we need to replan just because I've changed the planning operation. So we need to go here. You can do multi-level, blah, blah, blah. So this is so now this is going, and please check the time. This has processed the entire database and recalculates the RTP planning for all the product. So remember when I showed you before the list. So if we go to see how many products we have here, it's not a basic database. We have 5,000 items. So the time that the system took to reprocess the entire RTP for the database was just a few seconds. So when we have recalculated the RTP, we can now check the RTP for this product. So what is showing here? Let's read this data for a few seconds, and then we will see more. So for example, the system is saying, okay, we have 499 in stock. Actually, we do not have nothing unavailable. What is unavailable? For example, if you're managing job order and you want to plan stock by job order, you want to allocate products, even if you have it in your warehouse, and consider that part untouchable because you already know that it's something allocated to a specific order. Clearly, it's something that we do not, it depends from how the customer want to work. It's not my favorite because, if you use an MRP, you don't need to put things aside because the MRP know how to plan and what is the best time to replan.
Sure.
Okay. Also, here we have details. So yes, we have 499, but we have 299 already allocated. What this means that these 299 are already allocated. So if we go now back in our production and planning, you will see that, for example, if I go check to my available by date, I can go here. And in this case, what will show me is say, okay, same situation, but why we have 299 only available? Because 200 are already allocated in a sales order. So there is a sales order with a delivery date, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. And just clicking here, I can go here and check that specific sales order and check the quantity. So to show you the ability of our RTP date, so remember the number. So we have, 499 in stock, but really 200 are already allocated. So our free stock, let's call it this way, it's 299, correct?
Correct.
So if we go here and, okay, this is a sales order, just, top information, but you can go also by rows, which is the line item. I will call the line item. And here is the 200. I'm just editing this order. We can create a new one, will work exactly in the same way. So if I go in here and add a new line item, for example, of the same product, I can say, okay, now I want, let's say 50. Or let's say 99. I love the round number. What do you expect to happen?
It'll drop to 199.
Correct. But I have availability. So the ITP should tell me that, the customer want it for April the 22nd. I can say tomorrow because it doesn't make sense, right?
Sure.
The customer want it for tomorrow. Are we able to deliver those 99 or now or no? This is the real question. We know because the case is simple and I show it to you that we have it. But a salesperson may not know all that stuff that we showed before. You just want to enter a sales order, right? So when I click here and save it, now the system will say, listen, you have it. So do you want to accept that we can deliver 99? Yes, that's it. I did it, right? So far, what you have seen is that the system went in, checked the stock, and didn't have to go down on the bill of material because that was available. But what is interesting now, let's do something a little bit more complicated. Let's go back and check the availability by date. So, and if we check the same availability for the same product, then we see that we have now 200 only remaining in stock potentially, right? So now we want to make the system a little crazy. and we go in and they say, you know what, there is another customer that call us. I'm just using the same order just for the purpose of
Sure.
the demo, right?
Sure.
But we can create a new one. Assuming that we have another customer coming in and say, you know what, I want 300 of that, right? And I want it for like the 26, I don't know, of April, just a day. So we know, because I'm taking you to the case, right? That we don't have enough material to fulfill this order, right? But what happened when we say? So see, look at this. The system is saying, you know what? There is an ATB execution plan. So you can deliver 200 in the day that the customer have requested. But there is a quantity which is unavailable. But look at this. We can supply this on July the 6th. July the 5th. Why? Because the system have automatically exploded the bill of material. That's the time that it took. Exploded all those planning data, lot, minimum lot, sales, production. Do we have stock for subcomponent to produce or not? And then if we don't have it, the system know that the last date that we can create our planning is on July this.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
very nice.
And if we say yes, then look at this. The system automatically have created and split the order in a way that now we can plan it. So
Nice.
yeah, so what is interesting now, if we go back here and check our available to promise, clearly we will see, so we are going negative, which is normal because we told the system, okay, we know we can do it for that date because the system with the ATP, the available to promise, told us that potentially for that date we can do it. But if now my production director do nothing, I will not fulfill that order. So let's look at this situation. So if we do nothing, we are going to be negative. So we are not going to be able to deliver the stocks, right? If we now process the MRP, you know how much complicated is an MRP processing, right? With all those planning data and all the orders. But here it's just a click of a button, and then it started. You see here the time is running. So 5 seconds, whatever it is, it probably will take like, I don't know, well, not even longer. So it took only like, 10 seconds or so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So now let's look at what happened to our planning, right? Let's look at what happened to that product. Bam, and we have new stuff here that was not here. One in red and one in yellow. And I tell you why one is red and one yellow. We have the system that is planned, it's created for us planned order. So to avoid that negative situation, the system starts suggesting us what we have to do.
Nice. Automatic planning and order. Very good.
Yes. And red, it means that we have to act because we are is one of the parameters that you can control. It's, for example, somewhere I don't remember. Again, we have got to go back to settings. It's probably in the production settings. You can define a frame where you want to see that color, which means that, for example, we are within that frame that I remember I have defined before. It's 7 days. So I need to open this order before this date, because otherwise I will be late, which means I have to open it before the 26th. Otherwise, I will be late for the customer. And then at that point, the planning will tell me that I'm going to be late with my ATP. Yellow means, okay, you have enough time. But look at what happened. The system planned 50 to replan the stock, because remember, we had 40 as a minimum lot and 10 as a minimum lot to produce. So the system is replanning. Clearly, I will finish with 50 more in my stock, but just because the system have considered that I have a minimum stock and a minimum lot to produce. So I'm not going to end. Clearly, the goal of MRP is to end with zero, but my zero level is my minimum stock, right?
Sure.
And now that we have all of this, we have our planning schedule. So again, it's not a finite scheduling, but you see exactly what you have to do with your production.
Very good.